Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to all of you joining our webinar today. The much anticipated moment has arrived. NetSuite's first release of 2025 is here. And while I promise not to get too excited, there are some updates that might just make your day. We're looking at meaningful upgrades to modules, performance enhancements, and those all important stability fixes that keep our systems running smoothly. For our first time attendees, welcome. I am Tina and I'm the marketing manager at 79 Consulting. Our team has carefully reviewed the 2025.1 release notes and we've picked out the highlights that will actually matter to your business. Of course, complete notes are available on Suite Answers, or you can always reach out to us if you'd prefer the human touch in navigating through them. Okay. A quick housekeeping note, please feel free to add your questions to the chat box and we will address them towards the end of our webinar. Before we explore these updates, let me quickly just give you a brief overview of our company. Now, we were founded in 2007 as Twarna and we've grown into what is now 79 Consulting, which is our global brand. With over 150 NetSuite experts, we specialize in transforming business operations through cloud ERP solutions. Twarna continues as our innovation engine, while 79 Consulting delivers global services. You can find our full range of solutions, our Suite apps on suiteapp.com by using the search term Twarna. That's TVARANA. Okay, cool. Now let's meet our panel. First up, Navina, our project manager with over 12 years of NetSuite experience. She handles client communications, requirement gathering, and project implementation using both NetSuite native features as well as customizations. Next up, Eric brings over 15 years of NetSuite inventory expertise. If there's a supply chain puzzle, he's probably solved it twice. He'll be guiding us through key inventory and supply chain updates later. Rounding up our panel is Uday, our Suite script practice lead with over 20 years of IT experience. Uday leads our scripting practice, and while he won't bore you with technical jargon, he's going to make sure you understand exactly what these Suite Cloud and Suite Script updates mean for your business. Question to you, Uday, who's kicking everything off. Why does NetSuite have these releases?
Hi, Tina. Hi, everybody. So NetSuite rolls out major updates twice a year, and these are called releases. These updates impact NetSuite's entire customer base and are essential for improving features, enhancing security, and retiring older functionalities.
That makes sense. So these releases aren't just about adding new things, but also keeping the system secure and performing at its best, right?
Exactly. So NetSuite wants to ensure that businesses have access to the latest technology, remain compliant with regulatory changes, and continue running efficiently. But because these updates apply across the board, businesses need to prepare for potential changes that may affect their workflows.
So how do users find out when their accounts are getting upgraded?
Great question, Tina. So NetSuite upgrades its customers in batches over several weeks. So to check your account's upgrade date, you can log into NetSuite and look for the new release portlet on your home screen. If you don't see the new release portlet on your home page, you can add it by clicking on the personalized dropdown and selecting the new release option.
What about customers with dedicated servers? Do they have any flexibility?
Yes, for enterprise users on dedicated NetSuite servers, there may be an option to opt out of a release temporarily, but most customers will be automatically upgraded.
So you mentioned preparing for changes. How can businesses actually test these updates before they go live?
Right. So that's where release preview accounts come in. This is essentially your sandbox environment with the new NetSuite version applied. It allowing businesses to test workflows, integrations, and any custom scripts before their the live environment is upgraded to the new version. So to access it, users have to navigate to Setup, Company, Release Preview, and click Request Release Preview. So the opt-in window for 2025.1 update is currently open. Okay. So once you know your upgrade date and have access to the release preview, the next step is to understand the new features and assess their impact. So here's how you can prepare effectively, right? Start with NetSuite's sneak peek, which provides an overview of new features categorized by industry. So read through the full release notes to identify specific changes that could impact your business processes, and also develop a testing plan focused on some of these key areas like your business workflows, custom reports and saved searches, suite scripts and suite cloud customizations, any integrations, web service integrations or custom integrations that you have in your account. Also verify installed suite apps and external software integrations. And don't forget your suite commerce functionality as well. Please make sure that is thoroughly verified too. So now proper testing is essential. We highly advise validating all critical scripts, integrations, and workflows before the update to prevent any unforeseen issues. Identifying potential problems in advance in the release preview account can actually save a lot of time and effort and cause less disruption in the production account once your NetSuite account is upgraded.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense, Uday. Um, cool. Now that we have covered what it takes to prepare for a new release, let's move on to what's coming with NetSuite 2025.1. Now we have categorized the updates into 5 key areas. We have scripting and development, which Uday is on call for that. We have accounting and banking, which is Navina, user interface and suite analytics, again Navina, order management and inventory, Eric, manufacturing and SEM, again Eric. So let's start with Uday. And Uday, we see that netsuite.com data source is ending in 2025.1. Can you break down what that means for businesses using Suite Analytics Connect?
Absolutely. NetSuite has been phasing out the netsuite.com data source for a while now, and 2025.1 version is the final nail in the coffin. What this means is that while netsuite.com will still exist for a short period, any support requests for bug fixes or performance issues won't be entertained by NetSuite. So if businesses are still running reports, dashboards, or external integrations using netsuite.com, they must migrate to the new netsuite2.com as soon as possible. netsuite2.com is not just a replacement, it's a more optimized and scalable data source built with better query performance and expanded data access.
So if businesses don't migrate their reports, what happens?
If they don't migrate, they could start experiencing reporting failures. They could see some missing data or performance issues. And because support will no longer be provided for the netsuite.com data source, they'll be stuck scrambling to fix it at the last minute. So my strong recommendation here, don't wait. Start migrating now to the new data source.
Yep, good advice again. What else is new for reporting?
Right. So we have NetSuite now allows you to send reports to each member of a group. Right. So previously reports sent to a group entity only went to that group email address, but now each individual member gets a copy. So this is a small but impactful quality of life update for teams managing financial or operational reports.
I see. Okay, let's talk about SDF and what's changing there.
So SDF, or the Suite Cloud Development Framework, is a key tool for NetSuite developers, Tina. And in this release, NetSuite has introduced 2 new custom objects. The first one is a prompt. Prompt represents a prompt that can be used in automated workflows or UI interactions. And the second custom object is text enhance action, right? So this represents a text enhancement action, which is useful for AI driven text modifications or smart data entry improvements. Additionally, there are updates to audience fields in script deployments and single page applications, making it easier for developers to manage who has access to certain features and scripts.
Okay. And what's new with Sweet Cloud SDK?
Yeah, so this one is a big one. NetSuite is enhancing security with encrypted credential storage. So starting with 2025.1, the Sweet Cloud SDK will use public key cryptography standards, the PKCS, to generate a password protected credential file. So how does this matter, right? Previously, credentials were stored in a plain text, which wasn't ideal for security. So now authentication data is encrypted, which reduces the risk of credentials being exposed or misused. So this also means developers won't have to authenticate repeatedly. Once the credential file is stored, the SDK can use it securely.
Okay, so that's a pretty solid security enhancement, right? Anything else developers need to be aware of?
Yeah. So OAuth 1.0 is also being deprecated. If you are still using OAuth 1.0 for authentication, you must migrate to OAuth 2.0. So starting Feb 2025, OAuth 1.0 will no longer work with the new Sweet Cloud SDK installations, and older versions also will stop functioning soon after.
Okay. Now we have SweetScript, which has some pretty significant changes as well, right?
Yeah, true, Tina. So let's start with the first one is about the removal of the EXTJS library, the extended JavaScript library. And
I've heard about this one. EXTJS has been part of NetSuite for a long time, right? But it's been completely removed in 2025.1. So what does that mean for developers?
That's right. So if you have any custom scripts relying on this library, the EXTJS library, they'll break once your account gets upgraded to 2025.1 version. So developers have a couple of options here. They can adjust their code to work without this library, the EXTJS library, or the other option is to host their own external version of this library if they still want to use it. But honestly, I think we'd recommend rewriting scripts to avoid using the EXTJS library entirely, because NetSuite has been moving away from this for a while. So this removal isn't a surprise.
Okay, fair point. What about SweetScript and AI integrations?
Yeah, this is one of the more exciting updates, right? So NetSuite is enhancing its SweetScript generative AI API with a couple of new methods in the NLLM module, right? The large language model module. So here's what's new. We have the LLM.evaluate prompt. This allows developers to pass an ID of a prompt along with values for variables and get back a response from the LLM. We also have LLM.evaluate prompt.promise. This is the asynchronous version of the method that we just discussed, and it is helpful for applications that need to run AI-powered responses in the background without slowing down the process. That was slightly technical, but I hope it's helpful.
I mean, that's a lot of technical stuff for a person who's very non-technical, but I'm sure people would want to know how would this be applicable in the real world to businesses? How might they use it?
Sure. Let's say a company uses NetSuite to process customer support tickets. So they could use the generative AI API to auto-generate response recommendations based on past ticket resolutions. They can have the AI analyze issue trends in customer interactions, and they can also use AI to generate better invoice descriptions or contract language within Suite script workflows. So it's a step towards making NetSuite more intelligent and automated, right?
Got it.
So, and then let's now talk about the single page applications and what's changing here. Previously, developers had to go through a request process to use single page applications within NetSuite. But as of 2025.1 version, this request process is gone. So anyone meeting the following conditions can now develop the SPAs. So the first one, they must use Speak Cloud Development Framework or SDF uh, projects, and the second is they must use SuiteScript 2.1. So this means faster deployment for developers, building modern NetSuite integrated web applications.
That makes a lot of sense. Lastly, what's happening with SweetTalk Web Services?
So the 2025.1 SOAP Web Services version isn't available just yet, but NetSuite has confirmed that once this latest version is released, the 2018.1 version will be retired. So the key takeaway here, if you're still running integrations on SOAP 2018.1 version, it's time to start planning your upgrade and move to the more later versions.
All right. That was a lot of important updates there. Thanks for breaking it all down for all of us. I hope our audience was able to grasp if you're not a developer. And I'm sure they can address your questions if you have any.
Yeah, no problem. And if anyone has any questions like Tina mentioned, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll cover them in the Q&A session.
All right. Thank you, Uday. And audience, before we move on to our next section and speaker, I would like to put in a quick poll in our chat box. This is just to get to know you a little bit better, and it should take no more than a couple of seconds to answer. Okay, it should be coming up now. All right, thanks everyone for your responses. And now we are jumping over to Navina, who's taking us through all the functional updates that's coming with 2025.1. Hey Navina, there's so much packed into this release, and we have to get started somewhere. So let's start with accounting and banking. Tell us what's changing there.
Absolutely, Tina. Hello, everyone. NetSuite 2025.1 brings major enhancements across accounting, revenue recognition, fixed assets, and banking. So let's break it down, and let's start with the revenue arrangements first.
So what I understood is that revenue merging just got smarter. Can you explain?
Yes. NetSuite is making revenue merging more controlled and error-free. So going forward, no more retrospective merges with different dates, meaning all revenue elements must either have the same date or they should be empty. So mixing different dates will now trigger an error. Retrospective merges can no longer be undone as well. Previously, users could undo merges using workarounds, but now NetSuite enforces stricter prospective only merges. This means fewer errors and more accurate revenue reporting, which is crucial for compliance. So, also let's take a look at the revenue recognition. NetSuite has expanded the number of standard transaction line fields available for mapping in the revenue recognition field maps. So this update increases flexibility, allowing businesses to configure revenue recognition rules more precisely. However, some fields are only available if advanced revenue management feature, which is revenue allocation feature, is enabled. So if you are using ARM, you now have more control over how revenue is allocated and recognized.
Okay. Tell us what's new with fixed assets.
So in the fixed assets, two major enhancements. The first one is redesigned system setup page. So a cleaner layout under the Redwood Experience UI, making it easier to configure asset management settings. And the next is mid-life leases. So businesses can now import existing leases into NetSuite midterm rather than starting from the leases inception. So this is actually a very good feature because this is actually big for companies managing multiple leases. So we can now integrate previously recorded lease agreements into NetSuite without affecting past or previous financial year data.
Okay.
And we also have enhancements this time, the localization enhancements for different countries. So global businesses will definitely love this. NetSuite has strengthened tax compliance and reporting in multiple countries. So let's start with Brazil, which now supports 999 triple line electronic invoice access keys, allowing businesses to track more invoices. Accounting contexts now appear on tax reports, which enables businesses to generate country specific financial statements. And we also have updates in Denmark. So, Denmark safety tax reports are now available, ensuring compliance with EU standard audit file for tax. Finally, we have Singapore. So PayPal Ready e-invoicing now supports PayPal International PIN standards, making cross-border invoicing smoother. So these enhancements help businesses stay compliant with country-specific regulations and streamline financial reporting as well.
Okay. And it looks like banking has got an update too. So let's look at that as well.
Sure. So previously, when users matched imported bank data, NetSuite automatically created an auto create rule whenever conditions were met. But now the system won't create rules by default. Users must check a box to enable auto create. So this prevents unintended transactions from being created and reduces manual cleanup work. So it's a small feature but powerful thing because this update that gives users more control over transaction automation in the NetSuite banking. Okay, so now let's move on to the CSV imports where we have two key updates. Firstly, we have newly supported record types. So NetSuite now supports item receipt and item fulfillment in CSV imports. I know we all have been waiting for this. So which actually reduces the manual data entry as well. And the next is changes to audience fields for saved CSV imports. Now the public checkbox controls internal visibility for import maps, and the roles field is now called internal roles, making it clearer that only internal roles can be assigned. For businesses that regularly import bulk data, these updates save time and reduce errors.
Okay. Now let's talk about UI, Navina. I'm sure everybody is keen to hear what's changing there. So, what's going on with the new Redwood experience?
Yep. NetSuite continuously rolling out Redwood Experience UI across more areas. So we have a few more new features. So now users can change the color of their username and role in the header. Different account types like production, sandbox, and release preview accounts will now have distinct header colors. So if you disable Redwood experience, if you don't want it, NetSuite will ask for the feedback to help improve the UI. So these updates enhance user experience and make it easier to distinguish between roles and environments at a glance.
Okay, so everyone can take a look here at what's changing. Now, I noticed that NetSuite is introducing product recommendations. What's that about?
Yes. So NetSuite will now display recommendation messages at the top of pages, guiding users to relevant features. By default, recommendations are enabled. Users can disable them individually, or admins also can turn them off account wide. It's NetSuite's a way of helping users discover useful features based on their activity. All right. So now let's shift focus to analytics, purchasing, and vendor management, where we have a lot of great enhancements. So administrators now have more control over who can create HTML formulas in saved searches. Plus, we are seeing major improvements in bill capture and vendor payment processes. There is a security update in saved searches, and NetSuite now lets administrators control who has permission to create HTML formulas in saved searches.
And why does this matter?
So previously, anyone with saved search access could insert HTML or scripts, which posed security risks like potential script injection vulnerabilities. Now, only users with explicit administrator approval can create these formulas. So this is a huge win for security conscious businesses. And next, we have another great update when sending reports to a group entity. You can now choose to send them to each individual group member instead of just the group's shared email address. This means more personalized report distribution, improved visibility for team members, and less chance of reports getting missed in shared inboxes.
Okay, good to know. Now, let's talk about vendor bill processing. What's improved in this release?
Yeah, NetSuite has streamlined bill capture in multiple ways. Basically, the first one is bulk delete for uploaded bills. Users can now delete multiple uploaded bills in one go, which reduces manual cleanup time. And the next is reference number column also have been added. The scanned vendor bills page now displays the reference numbers, making it easier to identify duplicate uploads. And we have new build templates this time, which auto fills vendor and subsidiary fields based on historical data. Uh, and this bill capture also supports for discounts, which can apply percentage based or negative rates directly within this bill capture. And payment holds, which mark disputed bills directly from the review scanned bill page. So this means faster, more accurate vendor bill processing with very less manual work. Okay, so now let's move on to what's new in vendor payments. So NetSuite now allows businesses to store and update vendor bank details using vendor payment instruments. So add bank account numbers and routing details. We can set default payment accounts, update or delete bank details whenever we need it. Uh, we can use CSV import or Suite script to automate payment instrument updates as well. So for businesses using NetSuite One World, this makes managing multi-subsidiary payments much smoother.
Got it. These look like really great updates. Now, let's move on to CRM and authentication. What's new there?
Lots of security and user experience improvements. So let's start with case management. Previously, customers could access external case response pages indefinitely. Now, NetSuite introduces time limited links for added security. So, case response links are now valid for 2 to 8 weeks only, set by administrators. Users logged into NetSuite can still access cases without a time limit for sure. So this prevents unauthorized users from accessing old case links while keeping support cases accessible.
Okay. I hear the Advanced Partner Center also got some updates, right?
Yes. The permissions on standard and customized APC roles have been updated to ensure partners only access the right data. So, any customized APC roles will inherit the updated permissions automatically, which helps businesses maintain better security and control over partner access as well. So now, let's also talk about Customer 360. So NetSuite has added more customer insights. So which is overview page now includes recent transactions, product recommendations, and sales by year. Opportunities and estimates tab now tracks projected total, weighted total, and the opportunities we have won. Orders and returns tab now monitors order status, returns, and average order value. Receivables tab, which displays open invoices, overdue invoices, and available credit memos also. So these updates give businesses a more complete view of their customers.
Got it. One last thing, Sweet Sign On is being retired, right? So, what does that mean?
So NetSuite is ending support for outbound single sign-on. So if you're still using it, you'll need to switch to NetSuite as an OIDC provider. So Suite sign-on support ended for non-production accounts in 2024.1. 2025.1 update marks the end for production accounts. So businesses must migrate to modern authentication methods as soon as possible. So this change ensures better security and compatibility with modern identity providers.
I see. That was a lot of info condensed into a very short time, Navina. Any final takeaways?
Um, yeah, businesses should start testing these updates in their release preview accounts, Tina. So the enhancements to vendor payments, bill capture, CRM, and security make NetSuite even more powerful.
Couldn't agree more. So now we are going to be shifting gears. We are powering on and we are moving on over to Eric. Eric?
All right. Yeah, let's jump in. And for NetSuite 2025.1, it brings a lot of exciting updates to order management, inventory, and warehouse management. We'll start with order management before moving into the inventory enhancements. First up, we're going to talk about annual recurring revenue, or ARR, in the analytics and dashboard. NetSuite is expanding suite billing analytics by adding annual recurring revenue alongside the monthly recurring revenue. So why is this important? Is it tracks long-term revenue trends more effectively, new ARR workbooks and dashboard portlets to provide pre-built insights. It also helps subscription-based businesses improve forecasting and strategic planning. If you're running SaaS, memberships, or any recurring revenue model, this update will be a game changer.
All right. Eric, this is interesting. Can businesses now allocate revenue before services are activated?
That's exactly right. Businesses often sell subscriptions, hardware, and professional services together, but not everything gets activated at the same time. So now NetSuite allows you to generate invoices and allocate revenue before activation. This means you can invoice customers for hardware upfront while their subscription starts later. You can forecast revenue allocation against projects and inventory, as well as you can recognize revenue earlier, even if activation details are pending. This keeps financial records accurate while accommodating real-world sales cycles. We also have an uplift with higher decimal precision. So for businesses that work with highly precise pricing models, NetSuite now supports decimal precision up to 8 places for uplift calculations. This reduces rounding errors and improves accuracy in revenue forecasting. Now we're going to move over to some Ship Central enhancements. So we're going to dive straight in for the 2025.1 enhancements under the Ship Central module. If your business relies on shipping and logistics, these updates are going to make your fulfillment processes much smoother.
Can you give our audience an example of something that's actually going to save people time, Eric?
Yeah, we'll start with the pack carton reuse. If your team is handling a high volume of shipments, reusing cartons from previously shipped fulfillments can cut down on packing time significantly. Now, instead of setting up a new carton every time, users can scan, enter, or select cartons directly from a list of available ones. They can even modify carton size and weight as needed. If you got a large orders to process, the pack all option makes things even faster. With the new enable multi-select toggle, Users can select multiple cartons at once for packing or unpacking. Think of it as batch processing for your shipping workflow. It really speeds things up and reduces repetitive manual work. Another long requested feature is weigh scale support. ShipCentral now integrates with weighing scales, so the system automatically captures pallet weight as you pack, no more manual entry, and shipping cost calculations are more accurate. You can also factor in tear weight, which is critical for businesses dealing with variable weight shipments. Printing has also been streamlined. Bulk label and document printing is finally here. Users can select multiple cartons and print all related packing labels and shipping documents at once. No more clicking through all of your shipments one by one.
That sounds great.
Next, we have some carrier setting enhancements for businesses working with multiple shipping carriers. NetSuite 2025.1 brings several key improvements here. The first up is carrier accounts per location. You can now assign different carrier accounts to specific locations using the new Pack Ship Shipping Advanced plugin. So it's really is a game changer for businesses with multiple warehouses that need to manage separate accounts for each shipping location. We also get default package code per carrier. Instead of manually selecting the package code for every shipment, businesses can now set default package codes per carrier to streamline this process. Shipment references per carrier. Some carriers require extra shipment references like order number, telephone numbers, etc. NetSuite now lets you define up to 3 reference fields per carrier, ensuring full compliance with different shipping requirements. These changes give businesses more control and flexibility when working with multiple shipping providers. So up next, we're going to talk about warehouse management enhancements coming in 2025.1. These updates are designed to make your warehouse operations more efficient, accurate, and user-friendly. So 2025.1 in NetSuite WMS introduces new tools and improvements to help warehouse teams process inventory faster and with fewer errors. A side note, to use NetSuite WMS, you'll need to have access to both Suite apps, which is SCM Mobile and Oracle NetSuite WMS. If you're interested in WMS, you can reach out to us or your account rep, and we can assist you in this conversation further. So one thing we get is a more simplified picking and releasing order process. So the new pick task decomposition preference, you can now break down one large task into smaller manageable tasks. This means pickers can work on individual parts of an order rather than waiting for the entire task to be assigned. You also get more control over re-released pick quantities. If an item is backordered or needs to be re-released, NetSuite now gives you the option not to update quantities automatically, which preventing unexpected changes to picking workflows. We get a bit more flexibility with pick reversals as well. So you can do a partial pick reversal, but consider if you've made a mistake and now instead of reversing an entire pick, you can adjust only the incorrect quantities of the pick. This is especially useful for businesses dealing with high volume orders or lot tracked inventory, ensuring that adjustments are accurate without disrupting the entire process. We also get easier inventory replenishment if you're using that in WMS. You can replenish via cart process. Instead of moving an inventory item by item, warehouse staff can now group multiple items into a virtual cart and transfer them in one action. This is really great for improving efficiency when restocking bins. I'm a huge fan of using the cart process in NetSuite WMS. You can print labels for replenished items. When replenishing inventory, users can now print labels for regular, lot tracked, or serialized items right from the handheld WMS interface. This ensures that everything is clearly labeled and easy to track. This helps improve for some faster and more accurate data entry. The CSV import for bin transfers. Instead of manually updating bin locations, users can now bulk upload transfers using the CSV file import tool. We also have a view unit conversions on mobile. If your company uses multiple units of measure, you can now see conversion rates directly in the mobile app, ensuring that warehouse staff picks and processes the right quantities. We have better visibility into different picking issues. There is a new pick task failure report. If there's an issue during picking, NetSuite now provides a detailed failure report showing exactly what went wrong. Users can search by order, wave, or pick task to quickly identify any errors while reducing downtime and making this troubleshooting much easier. Okay. So these updates are all about making warehouse operations simpler and more efficient for the end user. The goal is to ensure that your warehouse team can focus on getting orders out the door quickly and accurately. All right, so we've tackled the warehouse management features. Now we're going to shift and talk a little bit about the quality management enhancements coming in NetSuite 2025.1. As we know, quality control is really a critical part of warehouse manufacturing operations. And these updates bring new tools to improve accuracy and compliance. So the quality management enhancements are as follows. We have statistical sampling, enhanced receipt return authorizations, and process and visibility enhancements.
Eric, quality management can often feel like a reactive process, right? The issues pop up and then teams scramble to fix them. Are these updates aimed at making things more proactive and less reactive?
That's exactly right, Tina. So when we're going to start with the statistical sampling, which is a huge step towards preventing those quality issues rather than just catching them. But with this feature, teams can define specific quality inspection rules based on items, transaction types, or volume thresholds. Instead of checking everything manually, businesses can create targeted sampling strategies to focus on items with a higher likelihood of defects. It also introduces defect classification, breaking issues into critical, major, or minor defects, making it easier to prioritize what needs attention.
So basically, instead of overloading teams with unnecessary checks, businesses can now focus their inspections where they matter most, right?
That's exactly correct. And speaking of efficiencies, we're going to talk about enhanced receipt return authorization. This new workflow automates return authorizations based on inspection results. If an item fails inspection, NetSuite automatically generates a return authorization for that lot or serial number with no manual intervention needed. This eliminates delays and reduces human error in handling defect inventory.
That's a game changer for teams that deal with high return volumes. What about overall process improvements?
Yeah, good question. So that's where process and the visibility enhancements come into play. So in the release, NetSuite's bringing us inventory details visibility. This means quality teams can now access inventory details directly from the inspection queue on the QMS tablet view. Operational details access. Work orders now display more real-time routing details, helping teams track inspection steps more effectively. We also get expiry date visibility. So lot and serial tracked items now display clear expiry dates in the inspection queue, making it easier to manage perishable inventory. We covered a handful there. We're going to shift over to some of the more broad SCM mobile enhancements, which are going to focus more on improving warehouse mobility and usability. So the SCM mobile enhancements in NetSuite 2025.1 have a handful of really key upgrades here. And remember, anything that rides on SCM mobile like WMS or mobile manufacturing, they must operate through this SCM mobile platform. So we have this Redwood experience preference. If your team prefers a modern, cleaner UI, you can now enable the Redwood experience theme in the SCM mobile app. updating the colors, fonts, and interface elements. This is the first big interface change in terms of visibility that we've seen in SEM Mobile in many years. We can print to file without third-party integration, so users can now save a soft copy of labels or documents as a PDF or ZPL file instead of relying on a third-party integration. Multiple row selection for transfer tables. The new Enable Multi-Select toggle allows users bulk select multiple rows and transfer tables, speeding up batch operations. Date selection from a calendar. So the date fields in SEM Mobile now display a calendar picker, making it much easier to select dates without the manual input on the keyboard. Some of the new mobile configuration capabilities, we get custom action buttons. Users can now add and configure custom buttons on mobile screens to simplify workflows. We get cloned data tables. Businesses can create copies of standard data tables and customize them with additional fields and actions. We also have auto submission of selected table data. So mobile users can configure automated database submissions when making row or column selections.
Eric, these all seem like small practical updates, but when you add them up, I think they can really streamline everyday tasks.
Exactly. These aren't necessarily all flashy updates, but they do address a lot of real pain points for warehouse teams, which is really making day-to-day operations smoother and more efficient. Okay, well, that wraps up SEM Mobile. Now we're going to move on to manufacturing enhancements and see what's new for our production teams.
Before we do that, Eric, I'm just going to jump in and post a poll for our audience. Just this is the last one, I promise. And it's going to be really quick. You'll see it pop up on your screen right now, and it won't take more than a couple of seconds to answer. Okay. All right. Eric, back to you and manufacturing.
Thanks, Tina. So we're going to wrap up today with manufacturing, and we currently have two big areas of improvement. Starting with manufacturing routing enhancements. So NetSuite has added more flexibility to manufacturing operation tasks, making it easier to manage production sequences, and here's what's changing. So now delays between manufacturing operations. You can now define the delays between each task and choose how they relate to each other. The options are going to include start to start. So the next operation begins as soon as the first one starts with minimal lag. Start to start with lag. The next operation starts after a specified delay from the start of the first task. Finish to start, which is the default. The second task begins only when the first one is complete. Finish to start with lag. The second task begins with a delay after the first one finishes. These changes give production planners more control over sequencing and efficiency, allowing them to fine-tune the workflows. Okay, we also get to add, delete, or reorder manufacturing operation tasks. So previously, modifying operations mid-process was really limited. Now users can insert new operations at any sequence number. We can edit operations that have not started and change their sequence, or we can delete tasks that haven't started yet. That's a much needed improvement, especially for businesses that need to adjust workflows on the fly. Okay. Now we have a handful of manufacturing mobile enhancements. So we're going to talk about some of the mobile functionality and how it's improving. First up, we have refined bin selection when issuing components. When executing WIP and non-WIP work orders, users can now manually select bins from which components are issued. This helps improve inventory accuracy and material tracking. We also have operation log for in-progress work. A new operation log feature will allow teams to monitor tasks in progress at work centers. Production operators can view their own work in progress. Production managers and administrators can see all ongoing operations and make adjustments as needed.
Now, that's a win for visibility. Instead of checking individual work orders, managers can now track everything in real time.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of tracking, we're going to talk about some labeling improvements as well. So we have GS1 item label printing. If your business requires barcode scanning, you'll really love this. So now users can print GS1 barcodes directly on item labels for produced assembly items. This is really a great update for businesses handling serialized inventory, especially. You have pause reason on restart pages. If a manufacturing run is paused, users can now log a reason before restarting. This adds an extra layer of accountability and process tracking. So that should help businesses track disruptions more effectively, especially if they're trying to improve production efficiency. So that's all for me on the manufacturing updates. I'll send it back to you, Tina.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, team. Folks, if you have any lingering questions, now is the time to post them in the chat. We're going to be hanging around for a few minutes to field your queries. In addition, I have all our contact info up on the screen in front of you. So if anything comes up and comes to mind later, you can just contact us using the info you see in front of you. And I really hope you found our session valuable, and I hope to see you in a session again in the future. Bye and thanks.